Hey everyone, I'm Brent with venompads.com doing another bridge saw blade for dummies tutorial. This video is really important because this is where the rubber hits the pavement. The number one thing you have to do, one of the top things you have to do to prevent a blade from failing is to check the blade segment before you put it on the bridge saw. I tell this to all my customers. The number one thing is you have to see if the segment is dressed. A, if it is dressed and the diamonds are exposed, go ahead and cut with it. B, if it's not sharp, you're gonna have to make sure you sharpen the blade. So in this video, I'm gonna cover two ways. First of all, to check your blade. How you know, many companies, when you buy a blade new out of the box, not all of them, but the companies that I deal with, all the blades new out of the box, the segments are already dressed from the factory where you can put it on. Not all factories do that, but the factories I deal with do it. Number two is if you don't know, you can feel. When you know your blade is what you call dressed, or in other words, sharp, how you know your blade is sharp is that when you feel this with your finger, you'll feel the metal worn away and you'll feel bumps like grains of sand on the beach. After water washes, you could kind of feel sand. It feels like sand on your fingers. If you're feeling that sand feeling on your fingertips, your segment is sharp. You already know it's sharp as it can get. Now, if it's not, you have to learn to cut, if you have blades, primarily when it comes to decked-in blades, porcelain blades, and quartzite blades, that's going to be the three areas where you're going to have to really be extra cautious to this. So if you have a decked-in blade or a compact surface blade, a porcelain blade, or a quartzite blade, here's what I tell everyone. Even though you might only use this blade to cut one material, you should really learn how to use that blade to cut other materials in other kitchens, because it's a good time to dress your blade, because you're going to eventually have to learn how to dress your blade sooner or later. So what I learned over the years, I found that, well, the number one thing to dress a blade on is sandstone, but not too many people have sandstone laying around their shop, nor sandstone kitchen jobs. But I found over the years, there's a type of engineered quartz. It's white, it's the lighter colors, and you barely can see the grain. It almost looks like a marble. That material dresses porcelain blades like magic and quartzite blades. So also with quartzite blades, actually just cutting granite, or pretty much with quartzite, cutting any kind of stone or engineered stone dresses the blade. But with porcelain and decked-in blades, what I've found, the only kind of material in the shops where guys are cutting kitchens is there's a certain type of engineered quartz. So at times, your bridge saw operator should learn how to cut other materials with the blade, because it's going to get him more comfortable with how the blade sounds when it's cutting easy, not under pressure. You get to hear how it has more of a quiet cut. Because in time, you really want to know what a blade sounds like cutting not under a lot of pressure. And that's why I always say you have to learn to also use your ears when you cut. So this is also why I always say, if you're not really experienced with quartzite blades or cutting quartzite, one of the first things you need to know is if you have a quartzite blade that's really a quartzite blade, it's going to cut granite and engineered stone way quicker than a quartz blade. And this is good because you're going to hear how the blade cuts not under a lot of pressure. You're going to hear a lot of that nice quiet sound what a blade makes when it's really cutting in the zone, with the diamonds being exposed, the right amount of water, right diameter, right horsepower. There is a big part of your ears being a big part of cutting, and that's what I've always experienced with myself. So the number one thing you have to learn is, A, is your segment dressed properly? And if it's not, do you know how to dress it in the right way where you're going to get those diamonds exposed? So as a recap, when it comes to quartzite blades, decked-in blades, porcelain blades, compact ceramic blades, more of the blades where people are having a tough time cutting, I always say two things. You have to learn how to dress them, see when they're sharp, and also you have to learn how to cut other materials, like other kitchen jobs with it, because it's going to build more trust in that blade of, wow, it cuts really good with this material. Because when you're cutting 3 centimeter quartzite full plunge cut bevel, miter cutting, this is where you have to really trust your blade that you're using. And you're only going to really trust your blades that you're using when you really understand how they work on a full range of when they're working under pressure, not a pressure, when you see how they're sharp, hearing that quiet sound. That's all very important.